Are you a business owner operating in Nigeria and you are looking at scaling your business? Then stop whatever you are doing and pay attention to this video. A lot of business owners have found themselves or walked directly into this particular issue without knowing. But today I'm coming here to discuss with you in this video about taxes. So I received a letter from the FIRS for a client, and this is what we're going to be discussing today, which we have to do about company income tax penalties. So today I'm going to be exposing you to the penalties you face when you don't pay your taxes on time. I know a lot of people be saying, oh, taxes, what the government do for us, what the government do that will pay taxes. Of course, we understand that taxes is a big issue and an elephant in the room. But then in this conversation, I'm going to be demystifying all the taxes and penalties you will pay if you fail to comply to taxes on time. So stay with me as we proceed to look at these critical issues that will befall you even if you know or you don't take action about it. So let's look at the issue of company income tax penalties. So if you have or run a limited liability company in Nigeria, then this is what you should pay critical attention to, because I'll be demystifying all the penalties you're going to face if you don't pay your taxes on time. So let's assume you have done business over the years. You have done business for a particular year, let's say 2024, you have done business, and then you have prepared your financial statement, your auditor have done your financial statement accurately, and then your tax to pay is 2 million naira. Let's assume your tax to pay is 2 million naira and you have failed to pay that tax until 10 months after, right? Your tax to pay is 2 million naira and you have failed to pay that tax until 10 months after. So this on this board we're going to be sharing with you is a representation of the penalties and how much you're going to pay if you intend to pay after the 10 months of default. So the first thing you need to understand is the tax payment amount, which we have established that the tax payment amount is 2 million naira. Then there is what is called late return penalty. Late return penalty is a penalty that arises for not filing to the FIRS, not filing those financial statements that has been done by your auditor to the FIRS. And the penalty is at the first month of default, you are going to pay 25,000 naira for late return penalty and 5,000 naira for subsequent months until the month you file. So let's assume you have not filed for 10 months. So the first month you are going to pay 25,000 naira plus 5,000 naira every month, which is the remaining 9 months. You go to 5,000 naira multiplied by 9, which is 45,000 naira, plus 25,000 naira, which will be 70,000 naira. So your late return penalty is 70,000 naira. That is, you have 2 million naira tax to pay and you have additional 70,000 naira for late return penalty, right? So let's proceed. Then the next one is the 10% penalty on tax default. There is a 10% penalty on tax default. So imagine you're supposed to pay the government money 10 months ago and you refuse to pay, maybe because of ignorance, you didn't know, or maybe you knew but you felt, okay, I'm not ready to pay now. So this is what happens when at that point you are ready to pay. You are going to pay additional 10% penalty for tax default, and the 10% penalty is charged on that amount you are supposed to pay, which is 2 million naira. So 10% of 2 million is worth 200,000 naira. So this is 200,000 naira. So now you have 2 million naira plus 70,000 naira plus 200,000 naira, and it doesn't stop there. It proceeds and moves down. So this is the interesting part of it, the interest on penalty. The interest on penalty is the interesting part of it, and this is charged based on the CBN lending rate as at the time it is calculated. So let's assume currently the CBN lending rate based on inflation is 30%, right? So let's assume the CBN lending rate is 30%. So 30% of the 30% interest is charged on the penalty, not the tax sum. You know, on this board now, we have a tax sum. We have a tax sum of 2 million naira. We have late return penalty for 10 months, which amounts to 70,000 naira. And we have 10% penalty on the tax amount, which is 200,000 naira. Then the interest on the penalty will be calculated on the 10% penalty, because the penalty is what you have defaulted to pay on the tax amount. So then the interest will be calculated on the 10% penalty. So let's assume the CBN lending rate currently is about 30%. So 30% of 200,000 naira, that is about 60,000 naira. So 30% of 200,000 naira is 60,000 naira. But it doesn't stop there. The 60,000 naira is monthly. So if you multiply it by the number of months of default, that's 60,000 naira multiplied by 10 months. That amounts to 600,000 naira. So 6,000, that amounts to 600,000 naira. So now you are having the 2 million naira to pay, which is your tax to pay as at the time if you paid as at the time you're supposed to pay just 2 million naira, but you waited for 10 months. So this is what happened. So after the 10 months, there is late return penalty of 25,000 naira at the first month and 5,000 naira at the subsequent month until the month you pay. So that is why we calculated 25,000 at the first month, then 5,000 naira multiplied by the remaining 9 months, which is 45,000 naira. If you add it to the 25,000 naira, it gives us 70,000 naira. And then they will have 200,000 naira, which is 10% penalty on the tax amount, which is 10% of 2 million naira is 200,000 naira. Then we have the interest on penalty at CBN rate. So we assume the CBN rate is 30%. So 30% of 200,000 naira is 60,000. So multiply by the 10 months of default, which is 600,000 naira. So now this is the amount you are expected to pay if you default within these 10 months. So the first is 2 million plus 70,000, that's for late return penalty, plus 200,000 for the 10% penalty on tax default, plus 600,000 on interest on penalty at the assumed CBN rate of 30%, which brings us to your total tax plus interest plus default to pay, which amounts to 2,870,000 naira. So you'll be paying additional 870,000 naira for tax default within 10 months of default that you have defaulted to pay 2 million naira. And this continues. The more the months proceed, the more the interest and penalty becomes higher. So there are companies, and you probably watching this video, you have not paid your taxes for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and the more the time goes, the more it keeps accumulating. And this is for company income tax penalty. And then there is a part of value added tax penalty. So if you are a company and you have not been paying your VAT, this is what is going to happen to you when the FIRS comes for you. So if you are a company and you have been paying value added tax, the penalty for VAT penalty, of course, VAT means value added tax, and value added tax penalty is another ball game, because for value added tax, we are going to be charging you 50,000 naira for the first month of default and 25,000 naira for the subsequent month of default. So let's assume the company income tax, you still defaulted for 10 months, right? If you defaulted for 10 months, the first month is 50,000 naira and the subsequent month is 25,000 naira multiplied by 9. 25,000 naira multiplied by 9, that is 225,000 naira. So 225,000 naira plus 50,000 naira, that's 225,000 naira plus 50,000 naira, that is 275,000 naira on VAT default for not filing. So there are a lot of things that business owners don't take into consideration when it comes to tax. But then tax is an obligation. Tax is not a subject of if the government uses the money or not, because tax is an obligation and it is enshrined in the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So what we expect you as business owners and people who run companies to do is come to Consultant, so we can be able to help you take advantage of the loopholes to ensure that you pay the minimum taxes possible, because tax is what we cannot run away from. The two most surest thing in life is debt and taxes, and of course You cannot run away from taxes. The only thing you can do is to leverage our services as consultants that are very knowledgeable in this field to help you and guide you to enable you to pay the minimum taxes possible. So if you want to prevent a scenario like this, or ensure that you don't pay higher taxes, then we are the best people for you to reach out to. So you can reach out to us on the number displaying on your screen. Let's help you sort out your taxes.